Hello, this is Debbie Clemency with Health One Technologies. I'm here to give you an overview of our immunization form using the barcode scanner. The purpose of this form is to be able to enter immunizations using the barcode scanner. This can be used as a standalone form or within a set of forms. The first tab you'll come to is your Review Order tab. This allows you to review any vaccines to see what the patient has had previously and what they may be due for today. The first item you'll see is your vaccine ordered by. This should always be your provider ordering the vaccine. So for this purpose, I will go ahead and enter provider number 10. Down below is your VFC status. This defaults to you're not VFC eligible. You can modify the form so that this has to be selected manually if you choose to do so. Down below, you'll notice there are radio buttons for pediatric, adult, and travel other. This will populate based on the patient's age. This patient is over 18 years old, so the radio button has defaulted to an adult. Down below are your vaccines, which have been administered. Over here on the right-hand side, if you select the Details button, you'll see that you can view this previous vaccine. This one happens to be a historical vaccine for varicella. If you look further, you'll notice the hepatitis B has a red asterisk beside it. This means there has been a prior adverse reaction for this particular vaccine. So if I were to look at the details of that vaccine, you'll see the vaccine name, the date administered, the series, the dose, and the immunization site, along with the expiration, who administered the vaccine, the adverse reaction date, along with the type of adverse reaction. In the bottom section of the form, you have a box for vaccines ordered. This is where you would select your vaccines to be given to the patient at the time of this visit. So for today's purposes, I'm going to select flu vaccine. Once you've selected this checkbox, you can also select down here that the vaccine has been reviewed, or they've been updated, or that the patient or parent declines. And on the right-hand side, you have links to different options, handouts, etc. for this vaccine. You also have a comment section. Once you've selected your radio button, you can make any comments within this text box here. So in order to give the vaccine, you can either select the Give Vaccine button right here, or you can simply go to the second tab, which is your Give Vaccine tab. You'll notice here on the left-hand side, the vaccines that you've ordered for today will display under the vaccines ordered. And again, you have a nursing comment free text box over here on the right-hand side. Over here on the left, you have your Give Vaccine number 1. So in order to enter your vaccine, you would simply select the white box for the barcode and scan your vaccine at this time. Once you've scanned your vaccine, you'll notice that the barcode will display within this white text box. So now you would retrieve your lot data, and you'll see over here that the vaccines for this barcode number have populated on the right-hand side. So if you wanted to view the history, you could do that again from here. There's no information for this selected vaccine previously. And you'll see that all your options have pre-populated within the immunization data except for the site. So we would select the location of where you're administering the vaccine. Once you've selected that, you'll see over here on the right-hand side that a Record Data Orders button is available. You would select this button. Once you've selected that, you'll notice that the order is populated up above, which means that there has been a charge entered into the system for billing for influenza for this immunization. In addition to entering your charge for this vaccine, you have also written this immunization to the observation terms, and you've also written it to the immunization table to qualify for the registry. Again, you have a nursing comments free text box right down below, And over here on the left-hand side, if the patient were not receiving the vaccine, you could also select declined, not given. Once you did this, you would populate a screen that would allow you to print the vaccine declination form. It would display the vaccine drop-down that you're declining for today. And you would also have to select a reason why the vaccine was not given for today. Once you've completed those fields, you would record your data orders, and this would document in the patient's chart that the vaccine was declined. So moving forward, I'm not going to decline this vaccine, but I would like to point out that if it is your practice workflow to observe the patient for 20 minutes after the vaccine, you could complete this bottom section of the form as well. If there was any sort of reaction, you could simply select the checkbox in the adverse reaction. And once you did so, you would select the record button, and this will record that the patient had a reaction to this particular vaccine. So the final piece to entering your vaccine is to select your record immunization admin button, and this will record the immunization administration charge. One item to note is if you were giving multiple vaccines, which were not for this training purpose, but if you were to enter a second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth vaccine, you would not want to enter this record immunization button until you've entered each one of your immunizations and recorded them. The final step would be to record your immunization admin button. Reason being is the administration charge changes for the quantity of vaccines that you are entering. So for this purpose, I'm going to go ahead and record the immunization admin. And you'll notice up above that you've now entered the billing charge for one vaccine. The second tab you'll see is the Give Vaccine number 2. Each one of these tabs for Give Vaccine and Give Vaccine 2 allows you to enter up to 3 vaccines. So you can enter a total of 6 vaccines within this form. The next tab is your TB and PPD. If you wanted to enter a PPD, you would set the default data, select your manufacturer and lot number, the site that it was administered, who administered it. If you select the user button, that will populate the person using the form, your NDC, expiration date, and again, you would record your data orders. Once you record this, again, you'll see that the PPD has been recorded. In order to document the PPD results, whether it be during this visit or at an encounter at a later date, if this form was still unsigned, you could simply, in a day or two, come back to this form and document your results here, or you could just open a new immunization vaccine form and enter your results under this form in the PPD section. So you would simply select your risk. It was planted on 10/25. If for any reason that needed to be changed, you could select the change button and enter a new date. Once you selected the new date, you always would have to hit the save button. We're not going to do that for today. We're going to leave that as is. We're going to update the PPD results and document the results. So I'm going to put today's date. If there was any reaction, you would enter the size, the interpretation, negative, positive, or indeterminate. So I would enter positive. And the final step is to save the information that you've entered. So once you hit save, you'll see that the results have been documented within the patient's chart. The next tab you'll see is your safety tab. This, depending on your workflow for your clinic, you would review these questions with the patient prior to administering the vaccine. And if you were to review these prior to administering the vaccine, once you are finished with your questionnaire, you could hit this Give Vaccine button, and that would return you to the Give Vaccine tab to go ahead and enter the immunization. So over here you have an All Negatives button. So if I select this button, You'll see that no will populate for every question except for the very last question. For this one, you would just enter the question manually. Over here on the right, you have an option to enter the patient's temperature if that's your clinic workflow. You also have the option to enter a urine HCG result if you administered one. The next tab is your preload tab. This allows you to enter any previous vaccines that the patient may have had at another clinic or by another provider. So you would select your vaccine over here on the left. You would select your vaccine group. Vaccine history will display. Over here on the right, there's a button to select, which will give you the instructions for entering a historical vaccine. So if I select from the drop-down that the patient had this vaccine from another provider, you would enter the series. You'll see that there's many options to enter the series number. So maybe the patient had the vaccine while in the hospital, so you're entering series number 1. You would enter the type and the date that it was recorded. Once you've completed the information, you select your record button, and this will record the vaccine to the patient's record. So you would just continue on and select any other vaccines that the patient may have had within the form and document and record each vaccine individually. The next tab is your Edit Adverse Reactions tab. This allows you to document any adverse reactions along with edit any vaccines that you may have given previously. So for this purpose, I'm going to select the vaccine and select the refresh button. And you'll see down here, these are the vaccines that the patient has had previously. So if for any reason I wanted to modify this 913 immunization and change the series maybe to number 3. Maybe this was series number 3 and not series number 2. Anything over here in the right hand side you can edit. So I would go ahead and select the series number and change it to number 3. Once I've completed that, I would select the update button, and this again updates your vaccine table. But you do have to go and manually edit the vaccine within the flow sheet for this vaccine, as you would normally. The second piece would be to edit the text for this vaccine if it was entered during today's visit, which is the next tab over here. I will get to that in the next part of the review. The next piece of the form is the adverse reactions option. You can select this if there was an adverse reaction to the hepatitis B and document the reaction. And once you've documented what the reaction was, you would select the update button again. And this would denote the vaccine as we viewed previously with that red asterisk. The next section of the form is the remove vaccine option. So if I wanted to remove this hepatitis B vaccine, I would select hepatitis B over here on the left, select the vaccine that you'd like to remove, and you would select your entry error from the drop-down and simply select the remove button. This will remove it from the vaccine table, but you would still need to go back and edit the flow sheet from this button over here on the left, and you would also need to edit any text that may have been entered that you might want to make changes to. So the last tab on this form is your text tab. This allows you to go into the text of this note and make any changes manually if they were needed. This concludes the review of the immunizations form using the barcode scanner.